Hey, what's up? It's Shawn T from the Wrestling Revolver, and now we're drinking at Moe's together.
All right, everybody, welcome to Drinkin at Moe's. Host Big Mo here. We're a YouTube channel. Watch this. Be sure to like, subscribe, turn on the notifications because I got a ton of good stuff coming. You know, we're on Apple, Spotify, Anchor. Leave us a notification leave a review. I get tongue-tied, but I'm excited. Today I got with me the voice of Wrestling Revolver, the ring announcer, Shawn. How you doing?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. Like I told you a little bit before, my wife gave me a little bit of a surprise yesterday, so I can't complain. I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
Dude, they're addicting. I tell you, I started off with one, 4.5 years ago. We rescued a Dane at a year and a half and have been completely in love ever since. And then since we moved to Vegas, I've never seen more Great Danes in my entire life. And there's always Danes that pop up that people are needing to rehome or they're surrendering to shelters. And a 10-month-old one popped up and he was just absolutely stunning. And we went and rescued him a couple weeks ago. So we're enjoying the hell out of him too.
Oh yeah. My wife and I help out with a bulldog rescue here in Omaha. They adopt anywhere. The thing with them is as long as you're willing to travel to wherever the dog is, they'll adopt it to you.
Right
so
on.
We're actually fostering a French bulldog right now, and he can be a bit of a handful, but
I've heard that.
Overall not a bad dog by any means. Just definitely has a stubborn personality, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like that Napoleon complex. They're little dog with big ideas.
Oh yeah, that is definitely him. And then we got two English bulldogs. One that's sitting right next to me here. She's an old girl, but we love her to bits.
I bet.
But anyways, first thing I like to start off with each of my guests with is one, what got you started as a fan of wrestling, and then with you, how did you get your start, in the business, ring announcing and that sort of thing?
Basically, I can't remember not watching wrestling. It's been such a huge part of my life. Like both of my grandpas on either side watched wrestling. They would take me to the wrestling shows, either down at Vets Auditorium or back in the day when they were still the territories. They still wrestled in school gymnasiums. So I got to go see like Bulldog Bob Brown and Rufus R. Jones and Ivan Koloff and all those guys way back in the day wrestling my mom's high school gym. So I've always been a huge wrestling fan. So it's just always kind of been a part of me. As far as getting into the announcing wrestling, it's kind of been a long process thing, but the coolest things that have happened to me have all been by accident. So I'd always been a music fan. Well, I wound up being a bar back at a bar, and the DJ took note of me, taught me how to DJ. I became a bar jock. I had a passion for radio. I wound up getting in radio by luck, did that forever. That, of course, opened up all kinds of doors to announce different things. I did MMA for 15 years. Boxing, kickboxing, all that stuff. Well, then, 5-6 years ago, I was up at a music festival called the Treetown Music Festival. And all of a sudden, this dude that I've known for like 20 years comes flying up on a four-wheeler, and his name's Howard Johnston. And he's like, dude, I've been looking for you. I'm like, why? What the hell did I do? He goes, me and my brother are getting ready to start a wrestling promotion. He goes, I want you to come announce for us. I was like, you have a brother? He's like, yeah. Come to find out, Sammy Callahan's his brother.
No kidding.
Known a dude for 20 years. Never knew he had a brother, let alone a famous wrestling brother.
Yeah.
So we had the first Revolver show. Sammy didn't know nothing about me. All his brother told him was that I was a radio guy. And so, of course, it was like, oh, God, another radio guy. Well, then after the first show, he realized I wasn't just your normal announcer guy. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know how to control crowds. I know how to hype crowds. I have fun. I can ad lib. I can pretty much do whatever you want me to do. And here we are, going on 6 years strong with Revolver. And I am still having just as much fun, if not more, every show that we're doing now than I did on that first show.
Yeah, and you guys have had some doozies. I remember, well, this was a few years ago that like I had always heard about Revolver and heard about these amazing shows. And a friend of mine who was the best man at my wedding, we were having my bachelor party and we were having, an early, like a late lunch or something. And he's like, hey, you want to go to a Revolver? I'm like, okay. So we went, and oh boy, I'm trying to remember who all was on that show. I remember Rich Swann was the Impact X Division champ at the time.
Okay.
And I'm wanting to say John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, whatever the hell you want to call him. I believe he was the Impact World Champ at the time. And he was on in a tag match against, Jessica Havoc and Sammy Callahan.
I don't remember what show that was. We've had him on so many shows and in so many different ways. That's been pretty cool. Like we even had when he had his movie coming out, that Boone the Bounty Hunter.
Oh yeah.
We had him come as Boone. And oh my God, we had so much fun with that character. But Richie, man, that dude's been around since the jump. Pretty much as soon as he was gone from WWE, he was already best friends with Sammy and Jess, as well as his wife Sue. And so he was right on a show right out of the gate. And he's been phenomenal every time we've had him since. So yeah, our shows, if you followed the shows from the beginning, you know that we've come a long way. The production value, the setup value, the matches, the caliber that we get, and the amount of stars that we've helped create in Revolver that have now gone on to WWE, Impact Wrestling, New Japan. They've got their starts in Revolver.
Oh yeah, like you talk about some of the people that have gone through there, like Rich Swann has come in. You guys have had
the Rascals,
the Rascals,
Trey Miguel. When after Zach and Dez got called up, Trey was kind of lost there for a little while, but I almost think it was kind of the best thing for him because it really made him push himself, and he's become a superstar in his own right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Now that him and Zach are teaming up again, they're both so far elevated to what they left with. It's pretty phenomenal.
Oh, totally. And I mean, you think of, I was just thinking of when you were talking about them, another couple of names. One was actually at the last show in Des Moines when Josh Alexander, he's been through a former Revolver tag champ along with Ethan Page, and look at all the stuff those guys are up to now. You think of, when you think of independent wrestling, sometimes, there's a lot of promotions out there that, they'll bring in a big name or two here and there. you start looking at Revolver and all the people they're bringing in now, like, oh, you just had the Smoke 'em If You Bring 'em show where you had Alex Shelley. You had
Well, the last Ohio show we did before this one, I mean, we had the Motor City Machine Guns against the Rascals, which was absolutely a banger. That thing, it was insane. And the cool part is like I'll even still get to watch the show, even though I'm part of it, and I still get a fan out being on the show. So I love that part.
Oh yeah, no, I can only imagine. Like, I remember I was actually at the last Des Moines show, Tales from the Ring, and good Lord, some of the matches y'all had there, that scramble match for the Impact X Division title. I mean, that damn thing was all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Monsters Ball match.
The scrambles actually what kind of made us famous. The people that we've had in those matches that have held the now defunct Scramble Championship have been just insane. And we kind of got away from that. So it was kind of fun to bring that back and have it be for Impact X Division, which in turn it wound up being played on Impact.
I know they recently had that on their before the Impact, their BTI show. They had that on there, and I was like, holy crap. I remember being there. I was like third row and seeing like Billy Starks jumping over, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome because, you know, unlike a lot of the independent shows and stuff like that, where they're just about the show, us, yeah, of course, we're about the show and making them bigger and better each and every single time. But we're also into building the next superstars, building the next generation of wrestlers. So anything that we do, we always keep that in mind. Like the stuff that people don't get to see is the coaching, the instruction, the advice and stuff that goes on before the shows, behind the scenes, after the shows, before people leave the venues. So it's very heavy into building new superstars. Like that's kind of what we're our big thing is building new superstars. And now I think you've seen it today. Sammy's starting a wrestling school in Ohio.
I did, and he's got Jessica there with him, Jake
and Alex Colon.
Yeah. Oh man, I've actually been privileged enough to interview for this show both Jake Chris and Alex Colon. Jake Chris was like right after that video came out of him burning the it's title. Yeah, I just remember talking to him. I'm like, hey, would you want to come on the show? You have a grievance? I got a show. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that little video of his like rose his stock tenfold in a matter of 24 hours.
Oh God.
It made him a new gimmick and new pieces to his entrance gear. And it's been absolutely comical to see where it goes.
Oh man. I actually got to talk to him for a little bit after the that Tales from the Ring show. Man, it is just awesome seeing everything that he's been able to do. And even in that show alone, like I was wanting to go into how Revolver seems to have a little bit of everything, a little bit of whole mix of styles. Like Chris at that Tales from the Ring did that death match with the Joel Bateman, and good Lord, the damn ending to that, my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah, that was the thing is Sammy wanted to bring things to Central Iowa that have never been here before, and being who he is and having the contacts that he does allowed that to happen with ease. But hearing the behind the scenes chatter of where they're wanting to go and what else they're wanting to do, dude, sky is the limit on this stuff, man.
Oh, I can only imagine with, like you said, with the contacts that he has, and the stuff that just the potential of what could happen at Revolver shows. Like you said, the sky's the limit. I mean, this next show that coming up December 3rd, you guys are bringing in Ray Phoenix, and good Lord, he's all over the place. I believe he's going up against Zachary Wentz at that show.
Oh yeah, dude, that match there is going to be absolutely insane. Like, I'm so stoked for that one, because Zach is become a huge star in his own right since going to WWE. Like, he learned a lot when he was gone. And Ray is always fantastic. We haven't had Ray on a show in a long time, and the last time we were supposed to have him as a singles wrestler, he jacked up his shoulder and wasn't able to compete. So I'm stoked about that, because we've had his brother Penta on shows, and I was kind of hoping we were going to be able to bring Penta, but that dude is so crazy busy right now. I was shocked that we were able to get Ray, but having him and Zach, that's going to be highlight reels for weeks, man.
God, I can only imagine the craziness those two are going to be able to pull off during that match. And oh God, some of the other stuff that you guys got coming up for that show, Swerve versus
Swerve and Rich.
That good Lord,
that is going to be a war. That's not going to be a match. That's going to be a war.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys, the history that's unfolded the past 2-3 shows, it's all culminated to this. And I'm nervous to what's going to happen in this one, because there was so much love and trust that was absolutely destroyed. And Richie's looking to have some payback on old Swerve, baby.
Oh man, I remember I happened to luck out and was walking to my car, right, and I walked right by. He was filming the promo for that show, and I'm like, God damn! Talk about intense.
Yeah, and you put those two together, and their styles are relatively similar. Their backgrounds are relatively similar, but you put them together, and it's just fireworks. I mean, Swerve, he can go high, he can go low. Same with Rich. But at the same time, they're not afraid to get down and dirty, which is cool. So it's going to be pretty exciting. And I'm hoping that this will squash the beef, but knowing those two stubborn asses, they probably
you would hope with a match like the one they're having that would be one to kind of be the end all of a feud, because correct me if I'm wrong, this is the type of match that Swerve kind of, I don't know if he created it, but he first started like having this particular match in Lucha Underground.
Yeah, it's going to be very Lucha Underground-esque. It's going to be one of those matches where you really don't know what's going to happen or where they're going to take it. You just know that it is going to be just absolutely unforgiving and brutal. Oh. And for where their beef, their battle has gone up to this point, there's not much else you can do but this style. And to have it just be like bring it if you got it kind of a thing, it's going to get insane.
Oh, I can imagine every bit of that. And one other match that I'm particularly excited about, because it's in a way kind of a mix of styles. Masha Slamovich versus Alex Shelley. Holy crap.
Well, did you pay attention to the show Saturday in Ohio? Alex Shelley is now our remix champion. He beat Trey Miguel.
Ooh.
So that's going to kind of up the ante a little bit with Masha. But Masha, she's coming into her own since going into Impact. She's created quite the buzz about her, and to go against Alex Shelley this early in her career says a lot about her and where she's come. And it's going to be interesting to say the least, especially now that Alex has that cockiness about him since picking up that remix championship.
Yeah, and that match that he had with AEW, where him and with the Motor City Machine Guns were teaming up with Jay Lethal, he did have a little bit of that attitude there too. So it's
increased.
I can only add, man. I am going to be catching up with that show tomorrow because a friend of mine in California was doing a benefit wrestling show for colon cancer awareness that he also dedicated to the memory of my wife and I's little girls that we lost. So I was like, well, I kind of have to watch that.
Right.
But no, I'm excited because, I mean, just judging from the matches that were on that card, I can't wait to watch that. And, getting to see how it all played out with that Trey Miguel Alex Shelley match. I'm excited that y'all pull out all the stops and have not disappointed me one time. I can tell you that.
The last show we did in Ohio, we had the Rascals and Motor City Machine Guns, and that was probably one of the greatest matches I've seen in a while. One where the entire place was on their feet, pulling their hair out, goosebumps all over their bodies, because it was just that caliber. It was so exciting. It like touched people way down deep in their soul, to where when it was done, there was no winners, there was no losers. Like, everybody in that building was a winner after that match. And that's what I love about what we do and the caliber of shows and matches that we put on is just about every single match we do resonates with somebody, and the majority of the crowd also gets it resonated with them, and they all leave with just this awe looks on their face. That means everything to us.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that was exactly how I left Tales from the Ring. I mean, good Lord, before that show, I had never seen, like, you see promotions putting out, air quotes, death matches. That was the first time I had ever seen like a legit, like, you see those death match tournaments. Like, I know GCW just had their Nick Gage Invitational, and that was the first time I'd seen one of that type of death match live. And like, I'm not kidding, my jaw was on the floor. Like, I still talk about, seeing the panes of glass bridged on the chairs and get lit on fire. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm not the biggest fan in the world of the death matches, just because I see the aftermath of what happens to these guys.
Yeah.
There's my baby. And and I hate seeing young guys go through this, because I'm afraid they're gonna cut themselves short, their career short.
I can definitely understand that. You see guys like, we talked a little bit about Alex Colon earlier. He's talking about how this last tournament might be the last one that he does, going with them full time.
That dude's body is so riddled with scars. The first death match we ever did was Alex Colon versus Ricky Shane Page. And that was the most insane, bloody match I've ever seen. And this is when I would still set my table up ringside and would be sitting ringside to announce. And they were using carpet strips, the nail strips.
Oh yeah, that.
Banging their head. And Ricky Shane Page came over to me. He's like, "Pull it out, pull it out. I'm like, what? He goes, pull it out. So I grabbed the strip, and it actually popped out of his skull, and then just started shooting blood.
Oh God.
I was like, yeah, I'm not a fan of that one.
Yeah, no, it definitely, like we talked about, Revolver has that little bit of something for everybody. Death match wrestling, not really for everybody, but
No.
you do have that little bit of a bloodthirsty crowd that definitely gets into it.
But I like the way that we're doing them now.
Yeah,
We're doing the death matches, but we're not like putting 10,000 light tubes out there and stuff like that. We're doing a little more of the old school style matches with the barbed wire, the chairs, the ladders, bats, stuff like that, trash cans, and not rely on light tubes. I think the light tubes is what I like least about the death matches. I'm not a fan of that. I that shit slivers all over you, and it pisses me off. But I don't mind a few, but more they lean away from those and go into other items, I'm cool with that.
no, I can agree. There's lots of times where the stuff, especially light tubes, gets a little overused. Good Lord, I remember one show I went to, guy got hit in the head with a tube. Before I know it, a few minutes later, his face is just covered in blood, and he gets hit, spins right in front of me. I'm blood over my shirt, on my phone. I'm like, what the
That's why I don't sit ringside no more, man. I got tired of getting blood and spit and whatever the hell else all over me.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. One thing I was thinking about with Revolver, we've mentioned Ohio and we've mentioned Des Moines, Iowa.
Mhm.
You guys have also been the last number of years a staple of WrestleMania weekend. I've watched a handful of the Pancakes and Pile Drivers shows,
Yeah.
which always entertaining stuff.
WrestleCon's always cool because you get everybody together in one place at one time. So everybody's looking to cash in as much as possible. So the cool part about that is you'll have guys that'll go and do 2, 3, 4 shows a day. So uh their prices and stuff are a little more reasonable. So you're able to snatch up a ton of high caliber wrestlers for a show. The shows are smaller, but the energy is insane because everybody's just jacked for that entire week, and it just becomes insane. And then you get the legends and the Hall of Famers that are walking around that'll come and watch the shows. It's intimidating, but it's also it gives you an adrenaline push to want to do better. The first one that I did was our first WrestleCon, our first year, and we had Tully Blanchard, Paul Ellering. They were there with their daughters, and I'm sitting there with two guys that I especially Paul Ellering. I was a huge Road Warriors fan, and to hear feedback from those guys meant the world to me. And then when you go into WrestleCon itself for the meet and greets and stuff like that, you after you do a show and you have people come up to you and talk to you during that stuff, the feedback you get and the people be like, hey, I just saw you do a show, man. That was awesome. Congratulations, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's an adrenaline rush, even for me. So I love going to WrestleCons because it's so cool and it just gets you the opportunity to just to fan out and be a completely immersed wrestling fan and not have any distractions other than just wrestling.
Oh boy, yeah. I can only, and I've only ever wished I could go because I mean
it's intense, bro.
I can imagine like this upcoming year. I know everything being in Southern California, my old stomping grounds, because I was stationed in San Diego, just south of where everything's going to be this year. And I've had plenty of the wrestlers that I know in the area tell me, hey, all you have to do is buy a plane ticket. You don't got to worry about a place to stay. So I'm like, you're making a tempting offer, because even if I don't go to, the big WrestleMania show, I mean, all of the WrestleCon shows, Revolver and everything else they got going on there, there's countless amounts of wrestling that I'd be able to witness. And, you talk about all the talent that comes in and the multiple shows a day, all the legends that come in for the meet and greets. I mean, kind of a hard time to pass up if you can make it.
I mean, I'll tell you, when I did the WrestleCon down in Orlando, I want to say that week that there was like 400 or 500 wrestling shows that week. So and it would go all day, all night. And it'd be in all different venues. Anywhere that they could put a ring, there was a ring and somebody was doing a show. And then since I've gotten involved in the indies, like WWE just doesn't hold that same flavor for me anymore.
Yeah.
I've gotten quite spoiled, so I wouldn't even care about that. Just being around everything else is, to me, way better, because you're going to get more for your money.
Yeah.
You're going to get more interactions. You're going to get more benefit from it. I mean, just sitting in the hotel lobby, I had Jim the Anvil Neidhart come up and ask me for directions, which is insane. The Nasty Boy, same thing. I got to meet Jeff Jarrett and his wife, and I had a funny interaction. We had a Revolver table, and right next to the Revolver table was Abyss and the Hurricane.
Ooh.
And Abyss had Janice sitting on the table.
Oh.
Well, we're sitting there talking. All of a sudden, here comes Tony Atlas. He comes over and he goes to grab Janice, and he goes, "Let me see that." And Abyss puts his hands like, "Why?" He goes, "Because I'm going to take that and I'm going to shove it up my ass, and I want you to grab it and pull it out as fast as you can." I just starts laughing. Abyss looks at me. I look at him. We're like, "What in the hell?" Tony Atlas puts me in a headlock and starts shaking me, and then just walks off. That's WrestleCon.
Oh, man. You bring up a good point. Independent wrestling in general, you get more bang for your buck, and you get, all the people that come through, especially with the WrestleCon. I mean, I remember Tales from the Ring, not only I'm kind of somewhat of a beginning wrestling figure collector, and I love getting them signed if I get the chance. That show alone, I got Rich Swann, Keith Lee, and Swerve figures all signed, and I'm like, oh man.
Excuse me, we're gonna take a little walk here real quick.
Okay.
I've slacked off on my wrestling collecting because I wasn't in the business that long, and I was more into the music side of things.
Yeah.
So I have way more music memorabilia. But let's see here.
Okay.
So here we have a ring-worn bandana given to me by Ricky Morton, signed.
Nice.
Matt Cardona's shirt that he wore to the ring, tore off and threw in my face. Then here we have some of the Revolver shows that I've done that have all been signed up.
Nice.
Our first ever Wrestling Revolver turnbuckle pad.
Nice.
And then these are cool. So I got Swerve signed figure.
Nice.
early TNA. We had a show in Des Moines, and I got this signed up. You got Bubba Ray Dudley, Devon, Chris Harris, Hernandez, Homicide, Kurt Angle, James Storm, Abyss. Um, um, I don't even remember who else is on there, but my pride and joy, right there.
Oh man, that is something.
Ring worn by Pentagon, given to me for my birthday, signed by Pentagon.
Nice. Out of my wrestling stuff, I'd have to say my like centerpiece, probably my favorite one that I have so far. I got shortly after talking to Alex Colon for the show. He was talking about how he was going to be nice. But he was talking about how he was going to be investing in some new kick pads and was looking to sell off his old ones that he'd worn in countless matches. And I was like, how much wanting? He's like, make me an offer. It's like, I don't have them hung up just yet, but I got signed ring worn Alex Colon kick pads down in.
Nice.
But you brought up music memorabilia. I've been to, oh boy, I don't even want to try to think of how many concerts, but big country music guy, and one of my favorites, Dierks Bentley, was going to be playing at this casino right across the river. And I'm like, I wanted to go early, maybe thinking, maybe I can get a CD cover signed. Partway through the show, he's yelling out, "Where his beer drinkers at?" And I'm just screaming. And before I know it, he's pointing my direction. I'm like looking around thinking he's got to be pointing to somebody besides me. He ain't pointing at me. Before I know it, he's helping the security guys get me over the barricade. And I end up shotgunning a beer on stage with Dierks Bentley. And a little while towards the end of the show, he points back at me. And then he motions, he goes, takes a guitar from one of his guitar guys, starts motioning for something to write with. I'm just thinking, no.
No way.
No kidding. He signs it, walks over, and hands it to me.
That's awesome.
So that, as far as music, on the music end of things, that I'll keep that with me right along with the Alex Colon kick pads. I'm not even.
Yeah, I was in radio for 16, 17 years, but I was in entertainment and DJ stuff for like 25 years. So you name it, I've just about met them, hung out with them. Some of the stories I can't tell. Some of the stories I'll have to share to you in person. Some of them are absolutely comical. Some of the early days of artist careers and stuff, like we had Linkin Park when they came out with their first single. I wound up taking Chester and Shinoda to a porn shop one afternoon, and then left there, and then we went to their bus and we played video games for 3 hours on their tour bus. So that was my first introduction to Linkin Park. Then like the number of people that I've even became friends with, like in real life, beyond just the music stuff, has been pretty cool. So like Troy Laketta, the drummer from Tesla, that dude, him and I became friends years and years ago. And every once in a while, out of the blue, I'll get a phone call from him. "Hey, I was just thinking about you, checking in, seeing how you're doing." That's cool as hell to me.
Yeah. Nope. I can imagine. I have. You were going to say.
I was going to say, now that I'm not so much in the music industry, and I'm now more into the wrestling, now I'm getting wrestling friends that are like that, where guys will call me up, or we'll go hang out, or we'll go do something when they're in town. Brian Cage lives here in Vegas. with him and Melissa. I get to see them quite often, and we have some mutual friends, so we're always running into each other in weird places, which is kind of fun. So it's kind of being replaced as far as the types of friends, but man, I have just as much fun with these wrestlers, and the relationships that I'm developing through all these shows is pretty badass. And like Revolver has done so much for me, and I love where it's going. I love that nobody's kicking back on their heels. They're wanting to push the envelope. They're wanting to do more. They're wanting to go bigger. They're wanting to move it around more. We did a couple shows here in Vegas. We're looking at Texas as a next invasion, but we're wanting to move it around more and spread it around, because there's not a lot of organizations that are at the caliber we are, at being such a relatively young company. But we have a lot of eyes on us, and that makes our stock rise extremely fast.
Oh, I was gonna say, with like we talked about all the connections that hey Frenchie, but the connections that Sammy has and all the eyes that can bring on the Revolver product can only skyrocket the potential. I mean, you talk about, going to Texas. I mean, I, for one, wouldn't mind if y'all came to Omaha area at some point,
That's not outside the realm of possibility, my friend.
Hey, I wouldn't mind it. I know as soon as I heard tickets were on sale for that, I'd be buying that shit.
I might have to put a little bug in Sammy's ear, either go to Omaha or Council Bluffs at the least.
Hey, it ain't too far away. And I mean, y'all already go to Des Moines. I mean, it wouldn't be that much further to, just go a couple more hours west.
No, basically based out of Des Moines, which is good because you're right there in the center of the country. But yeah, Omaha or Council Bluffs, hop, skip, and a jump, dude. That's easy breezy. And I think it could be cool because there was always a big draw wrestling back in the old school days there. You always heard about them there. I don't. Do you guys have many shows or anything like that around there?
Yeah, we got 2 promotions that run out of Omaha. One more that runs more Lincoln, which is just about another hour west. Right. But yeah, we got a couple, and I mean, we have Magnum Wrestling that Strife runs, that they've brought Mike. Hey.
Wow.
Yeah, he got a bit of a but hey, give me a second.
You're good.
All right, dog, settle down. All right, so we were talking Magnum. They've brought in Mike Bennett a handful of times. I've ran into Mike Bennett, who is actually part of the Revolver Tag Team Champs at the time. I ran into him here once, shortly, like a month or 2 later, in St. Louis for Warrior Wrestling, and then at Revolver. And at the meet and greet, I walked up to him. I'm just jokingly like, man, we got to quit running into each other like this.
He's such a good dude.
Oh, totally.
He's a genuine cool cat. That dude, his social media kind of surprised me how he's kind of a motivational kind of guy.
Yeah. And I mean, everything that he's been through with, battling the addiction issues and battling back from that, and, turning everything into a positive.
Yeah.
I mean, he can very well fit into that and do really inspire people.
Yeah. And he's so nice to meet in person. Like, he's genuine with everybody he meets. He's not one that's like, Yeah, that'll be $10. Shake your hand. Here's an autograph. See you later. Like, he genuinely engages with the fans and talks with them and smiles and is genuine with his interaction. There's nothing fake about it. And the more that I watched and noticed that, it actually drew me more to him. And
Oh
I
yeah.
love guys that do that when they interact genuinely with the fans and don't just try to brush them on down the line. I respect the hell out of that.
Oh yeah. And like, obviously won't name any names, but yeah, you do run into, and I mean, I've ran into my fair share, not just here in Omaha, but you know, all over the place, those that they are like that.
Yeah.
And kind of like, it kind of, just turns you away from those people because you're like, okay, I was all excited to meet you, but now I'm going to go over here.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily there hasn't been that many. There's been only a few that have been quite disappointing when it comes to that. But the ones who actually do override that pretty quick. I don't spend a whole lot of time dwelling on those people.
No, yeah.
I'd rather put my focus on the ones who actually are genuine, and I'll put them over way more.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I am the exact same way. Guys like Mike Bennett, guys like one that I was like kind of nervous in a little bit when I first met him. I didn't get to do as long of an episode with him as I have with others, but I met him again in St. Louis. But Jonah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. I don't know if he could tell that I was a little nervous, but because this was shortly after I started the show. I'm walking up to him. I'm like, would you want to? And he's like, oh man, loved it.
The huge guy, bigger heart.
Oh, totally. Oh,
that is so rad.
Oh man, another one. Jeff Cobb.
I love Cobb. That was probably when I told you that I had a table at WrestleCon Orlando. Cobb was at the table with me when all that stuff went down. Some people don't really recognize the name Jeff Cobb unless they're really diehard wrestling fans, or if you watch Lucha Underground, you just tell them Matanza.
Yeah.
But Jeff and I became pretty cool. Jeff lives here in Vegas too, but he's in Japan a lot now. That dude has been rad from the jump. Every time I talk to him, he is the biggest goofball. The dude cannot be serious for 2 minutes. He's got to be either making a weird face or saying something funny, but he's a crack up. I love Cobb to death.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely loved it. Now that we've talked about all that, one thing that I noticed in some of your Facebook posts that I wanted to talk about because we kind of have it in common: haunt acting. Like, my wife is part of paid management staff at this house here in Omaha, and I helped out a little more last season, not so much this season, but it was mostly, I have a old back injury from the Navy that, like, the amount that I helped out last season, I most nights was walking back to my car hunched over because I was like, oh, fuck.
Takes a lot out of you.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, man. But, there's sometimes that you get some of those really good scares in there that is like, oh, man, makes up for that walking back to your car hunched over.
Yeah, like this was the first year I've actually got to do it. I've been a horror fan my whole life. Like, I love horror. And that's one of the things I love about being here in Las Vegas, is because this is a big horror town. There's a show that happens here about twice a year called Days of the Dead. And we have another one coming up in February where Heather Langenkamp from Nightmare on Elm Street is going to be there. Kane Hodder, Pinhead's going to be there. Like just huge. But down in the Arts District here, they have Nightmare Toys, which is a rad horror store that's open every day, all year long. They just opened a cafe next door to that called the Nightmare Cafe, where they have a cafe and bar that's all horror themed, and it's owned by the same people. Well, you have so many horror actors that live here and around here that they'll come in and do meet and greets. They'll come in and just hang out. So you're hanging out with these people from these movies. Well, last year, I was trying to do an online radio station, and I went and did an interview with the owner of this Halloween maze here in Las Vegas, and it was his first year doing it because there was a few places around here, but they weren't very responsive, and that's a turnoff to me.
Yeah.
This guy was all about it. Whatever you want, come on down, come check it out, blah, blah, blah. Well, we hit it off really well. By day, this dude is a personal trainer, and he has got a lot of high class, high influential clients, and he makes really good money. Well, he used to put on like a little haunted house thing in his yard for the neighborhood. And everybody's like, man, this is so good. You ought to do this as a real deal. So last year was his first time doing it. And it was awesome. We stayed friends all year. And then when this year come around, I told him, I said, hey, if you wind up needing some help, let me know. I'm down to come help. He's like, dude, I would love it. Come on. Never done it before. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? And he goes, do whatever you want. He goes, I don't script nobody. He goes, here's your character. Do whatever you want to do. He goes, I trust you. He goes, you know what to do. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I just started having fun with it. And then as each night went on, new ideas would start popping in my head of what to do to get pops.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Of what to do different. And I tried to start one-upping myself. Like I was the first person that people would see when they would enter the maze. And if I could get them to run out of the door before going actually 10 steps in, I win. And that happened a few times. And we had a couple of X-rated things that happened that was quite funny. One girl's fell out, being scared. We had we almost had boyfriends and girlfriends break up because the boyfriend would get scared and take off running and leave the girlfriend. Girlfriends would almost fight each other because they would push each other to the walls and trip each other. So it was quite fun. And what made this different than anything else I've ever done is it was literally like stepping into 13 different horror movies. So it wasn't like your cookie cutter haunted house. You go in, it's just pitch black and jump scare. Yeah. I've always wanted to create my own haunted house. And this dude did it about 75% exactly the way that I would do it.
Nice.
And it was completely rad. And I had so much fun with it. And when I told you that there's mutual friends here, well, he also trains Brian Cage and Melissa. So they came opening night. And who'd they bring with them? Carlito.
Nice.
And then we also had Hector from the Fast and the Furious franchise. He came through.
I remember seeing that picture.
It was a lot of fun. It's just an absolute blast. Like I can't wait. Next year, he's looking at buying either a building or a warehouse and doing it even bigger. And this dude doesn't skimp. Like he spends money. Like his masks and stuff like that are the high caliber masks, not off the shelf. Yeah. So like the owner, his costume alone was $2,300. And the cheapest mask that he had was $650.
Damn.
Yeah, he had a pinhead mask that was $1,300.
Jeez.
Yeah, so this dude did it right. Like it was legit. Like you were stepping into a horror movie, and then you would do your thing and move on.
Okay.
Yeah, it was insane.
Oh man, when you talked about having the person run like out of the door before they really even got in, that actually reminded me of my first time ever helping this one lady. I got to jump so bad and scream that she ran back the wrong way, dropped her phone on the way out, and had to come back through my area.
Well, it was funny because it was a thing where if you leave out the door that you came in, it's over. You're done. No refunds. It was $35 to go through. There were people who did not make it 10 steps in and just left and said, screw their money. I was like, you gotta be kidding. Each
Yeah.
their own, man. There was one girl who didn't even make it in the door. She heard the music, she saw the hallway, and she was like, hell no. She didn't even get in the door. So she made her and her boyfriend leave, and they didn't get their money.
Oh man. And you brought up the the boyfriend and the girlfriends fighting. Got a good one on that. Oh man, because it reminded me. Well, here's the little Frenchie one.
Yeah.
But one time I was in this area right outside. They had this big fog room, and my room was this little winding corridor that, like, at one point there was a sliding door that I just whip open. I got this one girl so bad that she jumped into her boyfriend, into the wall. And when they came around the corner and back through, man, all of a sudden I thought they left. And all of a sudden I start hearing this, and this is why you don't fucking need guys. You. And then I'm like, where the fuck is that coming from? We're like right outside the exit to my area. So I'm peeking through and they're still screaming at each other. And then I could tell that she saw me out of the corner of her eye. And I just go, ah! Just run. Fucking hilarious.
It was so much fun, dude. Like I said, it was my first year doing it, and I can't wait because he's gonna let me help plan next year's and do some of the stuff with him. I'm hoping to go to Florida with him because he goes down every year to the big convention they have down there where all the makeup and artists and mask makers and set designers and stuff go, and they sell all their stuff. I'm hoping to go with him to check that out and do that and plan next year's show. It should be badass.
Oh, I can bet. I know when my wife and I first met, she had already plans to go to this convention in St. Louis. Pretty much same thing from what I remember them telling me. And like, I remember seeing pictures. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's intense.
I can imagine. Well, I have two categories I like to round off the episode with. One bit of a name game where I like to tailor it to the guest. This one, I'm going to name off some people that have been through Revolver's doors. Some people might recognize from, people that have been there more currently. Some have kind of stepped away and made a home elsewhere. But we'll go ahead and get started. First one, doing some big things there in AEW right now.
Ethan's rat. That dude was always cool. We got him when he was still kind of developing himself. He wasn't. He was the last time he was there. He was almost on this teeter-totter where he was wondering if he should continue wrestling or if he should bounce off. But his personality was so awesome. And we just kept telling him, like, dude, you've got what it takes. you just stay at it, keep at it. And luckily, he wound up getting a new lease on his life and got in this health kick. And he was a little pudgy, but he got himself in this health kick, got himself a body going, which just intensified his personality, which in turn intensified his gimmick. So naturally, AEW picked him up, gave him that spotlight, and that dude is thriving hardcore. I actually miss having Ethan on our shows.
Oh man. Yeah, no, he is doing amazing things right now. He went up against one of my personal favorites right now, Eddie Kingston, in that first round of their tournament they're doing right now. And hey, I'm not even mad that Eddie Kingston didn't win that one, because good Lord,
I love Eddie.
There is on this just skyrocketing right now.
Yeah, we had Eddie Kingston on that WrestleCon show in Orlando, and he went against Adam, or formerly known as Adam Rose, and he was going by his old gimmick, Kruger. And I actually have video. It was insane. I showed it to Adam or Kruger like years later on social, because he got himself bad into drugs and almost destroyed his entire life. And when he got it back and got healthy again, I sent him the video, and he's like, "Oh my God, dude." He's like, "Look at me." He's like, "Thank you for showing me that." He goes, "I need to be reminded once in a while where I came from as to where I am now." And it's same with Ethan, hey buddy. He's also the kind of guy where his ego will get going a little bit, but he needs to be reminded where he came from, and it kind of is a reset.
Oh yeah, no, and that's good that he's making the men there. I mean, I'll admit I hadn't heard as much about him recently, but to know that at that point that he was starting to make things better, that's always a good thing. Next one, we talked a little bit about him earlier, Rich Swann.
Richie is awesome, dude. That guy, the way you see him in the ring is the same way he is in person backstage. That dude is so full of energy and so positive and so welcoming and loving to everybody around him. As soon as he walks in the door, it instantly makes everybody else's day better. That dude is like a magnet for positivity, and a prankster. Like, they'll sit there and they'll rib on each other in the back. They'll play games. They'll have wrestling. Somebody will bring a console and they'll start playing wrestling games. They'll be ribbing on each other. But Richie, dude, that guy is solid 100%. I love that dude with everything.
Oh yeah, I remember I was getting kind of bummed out because the guys that I had wrestling figures for get signed at that from the ring, I wasn't seeing any of them. It wasn't in, like, after the show that I started seeing all of them. First one was Rich Swann, and I'm like, holy crap, he was like literally just a couple feet behind me. I'm like, hey dude, and oh man, I got him to sign I got an 8x10 made of the picture that I taken with him at that first Revolver that I mentioned, when he had the X Division title, and he was like, "Oh, dude, I remember this."
Yeah, he's such a solid dude, man, and he is the exact same way every single time.
That's awesome, and it's so refreshing nowadays when you see, you see some people, like a little ways into things, they're like, fresh faced, and after a while they're kind of like, all right. But next one on the list, a guy that I refuse to call him by the name they're using now. I won't do it. I will always call him Pete Dunne.
Pete, we did one show with them, and it was the first show that I never got to do. So I didn't get to do the show when Pete was on the show because him and I forget the gal, they wound up being the Revolver champions, tag team champions.
Yeah. Millie
And that was the first and only show I've ever missed. And I kick myself in the ass for it every time. And I'm hoping that one day we'll get him back because I heard such good things about it that I'm hoping we get to do something with it because I'm a fan of him and his gimmick. I think he's getting pushed under the rug a little bit and taking kind of a back seat to the others, which is a travesty because that dude is so talented. But I mean, I wish him best.
Oh yeah. And I mean, you know, I personally would love it if they just let him use the name Pete Dunne with, you know, how they're presenting him now. I mean, it would fit, but I mean, hey, I don't get paid to make those decisions.
Well, that's the thing that's never made sense to me. Like, I understand taking somebody who's a little lesser known and repackaging them into something different, but taking people that already have huge names and they're known all over the wrestling world and then repackaging them as something else doesn't make any sense to me. It makes it to me, it's stupid.
No,
I'm like,
I think
that's where they take a wrong turn, and that's where it makes the wrestling world seem fake. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I can totally imagine all of that. I completely agree. Last but not least for this round, we talked a little bit about him just a little bit ago. Mike Bennett.
Love Mike Bennett, dude. Like I said, we've had him on several shows now, and that dude is probably one of the most positive cats that I've met in a long time. And he is genuinely grateful to meet every single person. And when he tells you, "Oh my God, it's good to see you," he genuinely means it's good to see you. And he'll be the first one to come over, shake your hand, give you a hug, whatever. And then engage into an actual conversation, nothing surface level.
Yeah.
Like, it's a genuine conversation. How are you? How you been? What have you been up to? Blah, blah, blah. And in turn, same thing. And then even when fans come and try to rib him about Maria, he'll rib right back and he doesn't take anything personal. And it's fun to him. Like, there was last show we had him on, somebody in the crowd, "We want Maria." He goes, "I do too." And it's like hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, and I completely agree with all your statements on, you know, how he always seems to make. Excuse me, getting over a little allergy thing, but
been there, done that.
He always seems to have this way of making each single person he meets feel special for even that little bit of time that he's talking to him. I know
Absolutely.
time that I've met up with him, when I met him in St. Louis, he was actually the first person that I bought an 8x10 of, that I had it made to have the person sign it. And he's like, "Oh, dude, I remember that show." And we got to talking. And when everything was happening with my little girls, and I reached out just saying, you know, I could use some words of advice, just some positivity to, you know, just get my mind going that direction. And boom, within minutes. And just some stuff that I won't personally ever forget, that everything that you said about him, completely agree.
And that's what I think the wrestling world needs more of, is guys like Mike Bennett, guys who like you said, they make everybody feel special. You know, there's sometimes I think guys forget that, you know, without the fans, they wouldn't have a job. They wouldn't get to do what they do. You know, yeah, everybody wants to sell merch, but If you're not connecting with the fans, they're not going to buy your shit. Don't just look at them as a dollar bill. Look at them as a fan. Look at them as a possible your fan. And if you can connect with them and you can make them connect with you, whether you're a heel or a face, that's how you connect with them. That's how you're going to sell more merch. That's how you're going to get your stock to rise. But being a so sourpuss sitting there behind the table, not interacting, not giving a shit what's happening or who's around, you're not going to get very far.
Oh, totally. I've ran into a few of those, but like we mentioned earlier, the people more often than not, the people that are the opposite of that, like we mentioned a few times, those guys tend to outweigh the ones that, are kind of just sourpusses, I guess, for a lack of a better way to put it.
Well, and like me, like I learned a long time ago, doing the stuff that I've done, that if you want to get somewhere, or if you want your stock to rise, you got to humble yourself. So I'm not the type of person to sit there and hide behind a curtain at the Revolver shows. If I'm not doing anything, I'm walking the crowds. I'm walking around saying hi to people. Fans are coming up. Hey, Shawn T, can I get a picture? Yeah, man, of course. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about that? And we'll sit there and talk. I love it. I love having conversations. I love meeting the people out there. And some I only know from Revolver shows, but it's pretty cool. And I know they love it just as much as I do. So I love it when I have the opportunities. I hate when I don't get that much time to do it. So I try to get stuff done enough where I can be out front and walk around, because the more that I can make everybody feel welcome to the shows, they're more likely to come back and bring friends with them.
Oh yeah. Oh, totally. You get out and you give people those memories of like, dude, I remember talking to this guy, and oh man, they're coming back. Oh, I want to bring this person or that person. Yep. No, always want to try to bring more eyes to the product, and that is the exact way to do it.
Yep. And especially the kids. I remember when I was a kid, it was different back in the days, because you could go up to the wrestling ring and get autographs from the wrestlers right there on the apron, or they would be out at a table and you can go get autographs from them. That doesn't happen a whole lot now in WWE days. So the indies, I tell everybody, I'm like, get your ass out there, talk to everybody, especially the kids, because it's going to mean more to them than you'll possibly ever know. And the ones who have been lifelong wrestling fans, they'll get it. And that's why I love when people bring their kids to the show, to get them into the stuff, because watching their faces is priceless.
Oh, I can only imagine. And nothing like bringing that smile to, the little kid's face, and just knowing that you made their night. Yeah, probably an indescribable feeling, I can imagine.
And it doesn't have to be anything huge. You can just be walking through and high-fiving a kid, just that little interaction, is as minute as it is, just put a huge smile on his face. And first thing they do is look at the parents like, oh, that's awesome. That's all it takes, man. Get your ass out there.
It can literally be that simple. But next category I used to call it a speed round, but to be honest, it never went that quick. So I'm just randomizer. I'd pick some random questions and you answer how you see fit. First one, and I purposely picked what could be a hard one. But let's see how this goes. If you could pick a favorite show that you've been a part of, what would it be?
It had to be that WrestleCon Orlando show. That thing was so over the top, and it was a smaller show than what we normally do, because there's multiple shows in a day that happens in a venue. but the shows that we packed into our time slot were so over the top and crazy. One of the greatest matches I ever saw to this day. I still talk about it. Ricochet versus Swerve.
Ooh.
That match was so intense and over the top. It was insane. Same show. We had the scramble match, pancakes and pile drivers. IHOP sponsored the event. They brought a bunch of pancakes and people got pancakes for breakfast during the show. Well, matches, of course, go as they will. Wrestlers went out. They wound up getting the pans of pancakes and started fighting with pancakes. And we had a food fight in the middle of WrestleCon with IHOP pancakes. We had, of course, the Revolver Scramble match where everything was going. It was the first time I ever thought Zach Wentz died. We also had the Snake Man in AEW. I thought he died because they were so intense. They had ladders and scaffolds and plywood and craziness. And all this was in a matter of 2 hours.
Ooh.
So small show, but the matches were insane. Eddie Kingston and Adam Rose. I have a video on my phone. Next time I see you, I'm going to show you the video. Remind me. The brutality that Adam Rose went through was insane, but that is probably the most memorable show to date.
Yeah. All right. No, I can imagine that would be. And some of the moments that you talked about kind of leads into my next one. Craziest in-match moment that you've witnessed.
Oh my gosh. That one's a hard one because there's been so much as of late. Just even through anywhere from Moose flying off a like the risers. He went to the top of the risers and flew off the riser and tried to land on somebody, wound up landing on the buffet table. Jesus. The death match is Ricky Shane Page and Alex Colon having to pull a carpet tack strip out of his head and it popped on me. It literally, that's an absolute hard one, man.
Oh no, I can imagine. I know for myself, I mentioned that Jake Chris Joel Bateman death match at Tales from the Ring. And
that was so bloody.
Oh God. And like that one started off crazy, them coming in to clean up the ring, and Jake Chris basically, because they're like, fuck that, leave it here, let's go.
Joel Bateman had a gash on the back of his arm so bad that they were wanting to rush him to the hospital, and he wouldn't let them.
Don't, man. Judging from all the stuff that happened in that match, I could see why. I mean,
it was gnarly, dude. It was down to the white meat, bro.
Oh God, ouch! Like not just the ending. The ending was crazy enough, but the whole damn match.
Yeah.
And another one that I witnessed that wasn't Revolver, but it was at Magnum, was a multi-person ladder match, kind of their version of Money in the Bank, where a guy that I recently, like a few months ago, found out actually helps out at Revolver when they're in Des Moines, Brandon Juarez.
Mm-hmm. Donnie Pepper Cricket.
He was in the match. They had a ladder sandwich, like bridged between the guardrail and the ring apron. He has a guy up on his shoulders, and I'm sitting on the other side of the ring, and all of a sudden I just see the ladder just go and completely folded, and I'm standing up like, holy shit, what just happened?
I just thought of another match that it has to be one of my top 5 moments. Midnight after WrestleMania. down in Orlando. We did a show at 2:00 in the morning. We had a 6-man tag match, and I want to say it was Sammy Guevara, Ricky Starks, and somebody else against Boone the Bounty Hunter, Sammy Callahan, and somebody else. And they had a spot in the match where, it was the Chris brothers in Boone. And they had a spot where all of a sudden Boone stuck his hand down Sammy Guevara's pants and pulled out what looked like a bag of cocaine.
Oh no.
And he's like, "You're under arrest." He's like, "It's not mine, it's not mine." And so there's now fighting with this bag of cocaine. And it takes off. Well, Boone goes to throw powder in somebody's face. It hits JT Davidson square in the face. And all of a sudden he's like, huh. Then he freaks out, strips off all of his clothes down to his underwear, jumps over the top rope and puts himself through 3 tables, jumps up and runs through the crowd, out the front doors and down the block with white powder all over his face and his underwear.
Oh my God. Oh man.
It was absolutely hysterical.
Oh man, I can only imagine being there, man. That just sounds hilarious.
And it's on the Midnight After Mania DVD.
I might have to go check that one out. That one in particular, because
I'll have to find out if he has one still, and if he does, I'll have to see if I can get it from him and get you a copy. It's absolutely hysterical, bro.
Oh man, that oh wow. Next one, we talked a little bit about haunting. What is, like, if you could pick from the times that you've helped, if you could pick a favorite, like, you got that person scare, what would you pick?
This sounds weird, and I don't mean it to sound weird, but gay guys are best to scare, especially when they come in threes, because you hear them talking shit to each other before they go in. I can hear them out the door, and I can hear them plotting how they're going to go through this thing and try to protect each other without getting too scared.
Yeah.
And the moment they walk in, like I would pause before jump scaring them, and to the point where they're like, "Oh, there's nothing here, let's go on." And then as soon as they take a step, I would jump out. They would damn near put themselves through a wall and stand themselves on there. And then they would all 3 drop to the floor. And then as I start laughing, they start laughing. And I'm not supposed to be laughing, but it's absolutely hysterical. And I would, of course, high five the guys, like, "You guys are rad. Keep going."
You know, you have those ones. It is kind of hard not to get a little bit of a chuckle out of.
It's impossible. I'm too much of a laugher.
Oh man, I remember getting a couple people so bad that they yelled that they either pissed themselves or they shit themselves. And at least one time, I swear I saw a puddle on the floor.
Our first night, we did. At the end of the night, when the lights came on, there was a puddle. Like, "Oh shit, somebody spilled something." No, that would be piss. How the hell did we miss somebody pissing themselves in the museum?
Oh man. And the room where I had the sliding door. One time I had a group come through, and there's these windows with just a window area with no glass on it, where somebody from the outside could peek in. Well, I had somebody else that me and him teamed up on this group, and this lady yells out, "Oh, fuck nuggets." And he goes, the other guy goes, "Are those any good?" And I go, "I hear they're kind of tasty." And as they're walking out, me and him were pounding on the walls. "We want nuggets." What? Oh man.
I
But
love that. I love those natural curse words that come out of people's mouths. They don't even have to make sense.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, those are the best. But last but not least, there's different ways of getting into the wrestling business.
Yeah.
You don't always have to be a wrestler. There's ring announcing, there's all sorts of jobs. What would be your best advice for anybody thinking of getting into the business?
Honestly, and I tell people this all the time because I get that question a lot. Not everybody's built to be a wrestler. I'm too old. I have a voice, but people sometimes they just like to be a part of it just to be a part of it. I say come to the shows, meet the promoters, meet the owners, whoever, make your presence known and let them know, hey, if you guys ever need help when you're in town, I'd love to come and help up, set up the ring, set up the show, whatever it may be, because that goes a long way. And I've seen it firsthand that Sammy himself, like dotes on people that do that. And he is first to reward them because they take the initiative. If he has to make somebody help do that or whatever, it doesn't mean the same. But somebody that comes and is like, hey, I would love to help. If I can help you, I would love to help. Do that, because all you have to do is just get a foot in the door. And then after that, who knows where it's going to go. But it's always that first step that is the hardest. And that's the easiest thing to do because everybody needs help putting up a ring. Everybody needs help putting up chairs.
Oh yeah. And oftentimes that could be the hardest step because there's always that little bit of nervousness going in, like, I want to, but
yeah, but I get it. That nervousness, I get it. And it is that's the hardest part, but that's a necessary part because if you can't do that, then you're not gonna be much use.
No, that is definitely true. And more often than not, once you get past that little bit of uncomfortableness and you get that foot in the door, then heck, who knows where it'll go from there.
Exactly. Like I said, there's all kinds of jobs. You never know. You could wind up getting involved in a match. You could wind up becoming part of the ring crew. You could be helping out behind the scenes. You could be running a camera. You never know what you're going to do.
Yep. No, definitely. Well, that is about all I have. My dogs are looking at me like they're wanting to go outside. So
yeah,
I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. It's been fun getting to talk to you about Revolver and haunting and all that. Where can people go social media wise to find you, get their eyes on you, and get their eyes on Revolver?
Pretty much. If you're on Wrestling Revolver, you're gonna find me. I'm interacting with all their stuff. My handles on Facebook and Instagram, Shawn T Majerus. Last name's hard to remember, hard to think, but if you put in the Shawn T all together, it's gonna pop up. But like I said, I'm all over the Revolver stuff. There's tags in there. I'm liking the page and stuff, find it on there. Friend me. I love meeting Revolver fans. I love answering questions. I love hanging out whenever I come to town or whenever I go to your town. And who knows, we could be coming to your town next, and that would be pretty rad because I love Omaha.
Oh, that would be amazing. And I mean, like I said, Brandon, Donnie Peppergrick, whatever you want to know him as, I've talked to him about tagging along to Revolver one of these next times. So, who knows? I had planned on going to the December 3rd show.
You better.
Oh, I want to, and I'm trying to see if I can rearrange some things, but I ended up a while back getting T-boned on my way home from work and had to get a new
Ooh.
car. And that kind of set
I
me
got
back
you.
a little bit.
I
So
got you.
if not this one, the next one that they're in Des Moines, definitely there.
If Donnie brings you or whatever, I got your ticket.
Sweet. That is awesome. Well, anyways, like I said, that is about all I have for tonight.
All right, brother, man.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Always, dude. Anytime.
Definitely. You're welcome back anytime.